Welcome back, travelers. As you can see, Tibalt is telling this particular episode of legendary lore. Hello, Joe. Did you miss me?
No.
Too bad. So, Tibalt began his life in the plain of Innistrad, city of Navalia, the province, if you will. And there were many Scabarin. Scabarin, of course, being what we refer to as your Frankensteins. Now, on the plain of Innistrad, I, Tibalt, worked under a great many Scabarin, learning all the different ways to stitch the dead together. But I wasn't particularly good at it, you might say. And I kind of just retreated a bit. I went about on my own. I gave up on it, you might say. And instead, I turned my talent towards something a bit more exciting. The living, you might say. I used what I had learned among those people that dealt in corpses to really test what it was, the true thresholds of the human frame, the mortality hiding amongst those that lived among me. Well, my experiments, they sought how to make them enjoy pain best. There's something special about pain, Joe. You ever feel pain?
Yes.
Yes, it's delightful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Well, you see, I started off using only the most simplest of vermin. Rats, rabbits, tax collectors, the usual. But the further I did this, the more expansive my things had to become. I had to get larger animals, deer, bears.
Lawyers.
Precisely. And then eventually I took in vagrants and those that were completely unaware of who I was and what it was that I was going to do to them. I don't know, perhaps they heard the rockin' time I was having, and suddenly devils started showing up all over the place. And they would gather around my laboratory at night, and they would whisper to me in their diabolic, chittering tongues. They were fascinated by me and my work. And so they offered their knowledge to me. The very nature of pain, the secrets that no one else knew, that only the devils had ever discovered. They revealed
vexing
to me, indeed. And so, you could say I grew a bit more sadistic, but at the same time, I must admit I was a bit more careless in my ways, in my executions, if you will. Well, my neighbor started talking, whispering about me and all these terrible things that I had done. Well, I didn't know about it at the time. It was only until an inquisitor showed up, kicked down the door of my laboratory, and a whole bunch of their holy warriors poured into my workshop that I realized, oh no, I may have made a boo-boo. I may have been a bit too brazen. Fortunately, all my devils were there, and they did all that they could to help me, of course, but in the end, I cast a spell. A potent, hateful spell. And it was specifically one that the devils had taught me. One that fused my own essence with the devils at my side. Power flooded into me. And I experienced every single terrible thing I had ever done to another human being. And it was in that moment that my spark ignited.
I'm gonna say that sounds traumatic enough to ignite a spark.
Yes, you are correct, Joe.
So you were born as a human and then you turned into Devil Boy.
Yes, you could say that. I feel like I always had a devilish streak to me. Now, that all aside, I did eventually...
I was gonna say, it doesn't sound like you can live being a red horn little boy in a Innistrad without being, executed.
That is correct. And upon one of my returns to Innistrad, I ran into Sorin Markov, the so-called Lord of Innistrad. But he just didn't like the way I rolled. Everyone else was going insane. I figured it was a party. But no, I guess not. And so, I needed to interfere, if nothing else, and torment him as long as I could. It wasn't long before I eventually was lured to Ravnica by this very, very shiny bright lights in the sky. And I thought to myself, I have to go there. Big mistake. You see, I wound up being taken in to this trap. This big dragon guy. He was like, you know what, I want your soul. And I was like, no, my soul is mine, not yours. I'm not going to deal with that. And so I had to play the hero for a few moments, working alongside some Davriel fellow with a weird mustache deal going on. And the two of us together, we just had a whole bunch of devils and demons and such, and we wreaked havoc across all these skeletons. It wasn't quite as fun as it could have been because none of the skeletons could actually feel pain. But, you know, that's just how things go. And eventually, I noticed a little bit of psychic trauma. You see, during that whole War of the Spark, this girl, Chandra Nalar, hot stuff, you might say. You see, she had so much agony, so much psychic pain that I could feel it coming off of her. You see, her friend, this very strapping fellow with exceptional sideburns, well, he died exquisitely with so much pain involved, but he died. And I felt that, and it felt great. And so I followed her around. I kind of just tried to drive the blade in there, but things just kind of went old Costa Rica, you might say, and I wound up captured, locked up by a militia in Innistrad. Now, of course, you may know the story already, but I did eventually escape, and I did go to a plane called Caltane. But if you want to learn more about that, you'll have to see those other legendary lores. So, Joe, how do you end these things?
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to hear more from Tibalt and about Tibalt, go ahead and check out our legendary lore on Caltane, where you can see what he gets up to in there. And in the meantime, go ahead and subscribe for our next legendary lore. We'll be rid of this guy. And comment down below what kind of agonies have you had in your life. Actually, yeah, let us know.
Yeah.